Okay, off to Hindeloopen. Now, Hindeloopen is a style that I started to paint back in 1984, and it was a style when I first started painting. I was really afraid to paint it because it just looked all these scrolls and all of this stuff, and I just was intimidated by it. But now I love it. I love every part of it. And now I've painted it for years. I've painted it for 30 years, and now we're starting to relax some of it just a little bit. So I have two designs basically based on or inspired by Hindeloopen. I have this one, which is your classic Wren, which I've done, I've painted him several times, but he's done this time a little bit more casual. The roses, these are very much a change for Hindeloopen roses. They're very much a blend of like an Aubusson, a tapestry type casual flower. There's not structured stroke work in it, which I kind of vary that and leave some of the strokes of the scrolls. But again, the scrolls here are relaxed, and you can paint it with anything. You can paint it with a flat or a filbert. I'll use a number 4 flat on this. And but you can use a 6. You can use any of those brushes. Each size of brush will give you a little bit different look. This one over here, I lightened up the colors, airied them up a little bit. I love it. It's a very what I was joking with some of my friends. It's very girly here, and keeping those kind of red violets and blues and stuff. Really quite pretty, and a little bit on the brighter side of some of your yellows and stuff. So I'm going to use the same basic techniques in both of these. This particular flower here, the only difference is this particular flower I leave a little more strokey, and I do a lifting off, what I call a lifting off technique. I'll put the lights down and I'll lift these colors off. I'll show you that in just a moment. And on this one right here, I build and build and build, getting smaller and smaller to the front. Let's talk about it, and let's paint those. One of the things that I like to do when I am here, on my paint table or doing anything, and what I highly suggest, and we have all kinds of videos to show you how to do it. This is my little Samsung tablet. I love this little tablet, and we have iPads and tablets, and you can transfer the book right onto this, put it out on your paint table. What I like about this is, this is the Hindeloopen flowers, one of the step photos of the Hindeloopen flowers, and you can blow that step photo up pretty big, and you can see exactly what I do. And this is what I really mean what I do is I take that little flat brush right there, and I put that little corner on it. I just pick up a little corner of the brush and paint, and I use it to physically draw the edges of petals and stuff as I go through the painting. So having a little tablet like this and setting it up, I have a little holder here up on the top, and I set it up there on the side, and it's a great little thing, a little tool to have you for your book, and you can watch the videos on it, and you can just scroll through your book that way and blow up any photo at any time. It's a great little tool for you. But let's go in and let's paint some a little Hindeloopen. Now, I'm going to start on a wet background color. I like that. That's really pure olive primer. Why do you do that? Because a wet background gives you greater control of your colors. It's actually easy to paint on a wet value background. If you are going to be transferring your design, and one of the things I say is, let's say that you're going to have a scroll. So if I come out here and I say, okay, I'm going to have a scroll shape that I'm going to build in here like this, okay? If I'm going to have this scroll shape, transfer your design, but transfer your design heavy enough so that if you come over with a little bit of background, you'll be able to see it through. So you might have a few roses or something like that through here, and flowers, and whatever you're going to have in there. Make sure that you do it heavy enough that you're going to be able to see your pattern line through when you put on a little base coat. Especially if you're using a lot of white in that base coat, whites tend to cover up those pattern lines pretty fast. So you might want to use your color, your line when you put it on pretty heavy, okay, as you transfer, because then you'll be able to see it really easy. On the backgrounds here, they're basically, you have a medium white color. Now we sell medium white mix that way. You can use that, or you can make your own. Medium white is just a white, a little yellow, a little bit of a brown color, which is red and black. And you can vary that. You can add more yellow and red, take it kind of orangish kind of color. You can add a little bit of blue to it to blue it up here a little bit. I'll show you some different ideas in each particular painting that we're doing. But generally, I want to paint onto a wet background. So I'm just going to take my larger brush here, and I'm going to take some of my nice thick white. I'll add a little bit of yellow to this, and let's do this in kind of a grayish kind of color here. So maybe I'll take a little bit of blue here and a little bit of black, which will start me a gray. Okay, so that gives me a nice gray. The yellow helps keep my gray very warm. Do you see that? See how that keeps my gray very, very much to the warm side. And, you know, if I feel that I put the blue into here like this, and you can add if it goes too green on you, you feel like it's going too green. What's the complement of green? Is a red. If you want it to be cool, you can add like a little red violet up here. It makes a pretty little color here, the gray, and just kind of find the kind of grayish color you like. And I'll keep this maybe a little bit more on the blue and the violet side of this gray here, but I need a little bit of that white just to warm it up. So that's a pretty little gray that I have here. That's a nice gray, maybe a little bit lighter. Now what I'll do is I'll just add some extender to this, thin it out. Okay, and this is generally what I do. I kind of brush mix this around, and I'll change my color quite a bit, but I'm going to thin this out so it goes pretty thin on my palette, so that when I put it on my painting here, when I'm going to paint this area, and I'll base coat my board and stuff with this, but when I put it over this area here, I will still, that extender, I will still see a little bit of the pattern there through it. Now, let me reach over here and grab a paper towel. One of the things that you got to consider, though, in all a painting, and I love to do this, I love to have this out, but if I have my paint too loose, too thin, like I'm putting it out here on the surface here, so I cover this all up. You can still see your pattern line through it. But if I have my paint on there so thin, and I'm going to do stroke work, if you get it on too thin, the stroke work will tend to bleed out. Will tend to, as you put it on, will tend to bleed out. So sometimes we will wipe it down a little bit and relieve and get rid of some of that excess moisture right out of it right away. And you can see your pattern line very easy that way too, if you need to. But you don't really need to worry too much about your pattern line. Some of that will cover up. Now, in the paintings that I do, the Hindeloopen paintings, I will go through and generally add other colors. Like you'll see me add some blues and stuff back behind the background. You can kind of see that there. That's a beautiful thing. That's not a traditional thing of Hindeloopen or anything like that, but it's just a real pretty little addition that I like to do. So I might take like a little violet or something like that and just kick it through the background like this and break up that background. We call this modeling up the background here. And I like that. That adds movement. Sometimes I'll add back, feelings of back flowers, or I'll kick in just a little bit of light color in like this. I like that. I like movement now. When I paint with these, I like to have this movement coming through. So now when we're going to go paint the scrolls, basically the scroll shape in all of these, and there's a couple ways to do it. One is to pull it traditionally like a scroll, which is you're going to go from the flat part of the brush down onto the chisel part of the brush. Okay, so physically your brush here has a flat side and it has a chisel side. So all you're going to do, and let's just do this here real quick with a little bit of a blue color. We'll tone a blue down, a little blue and black and a little bit of white here. Right into, see, and I just drop it right into this color. If you make it and model it right into all these colors, you get beautiful harmony if you let these things cross, these colors cross. You're using the Heritage is a high quality pigment. It intermixes like this very well, very efficiently, and so you don't have to worry about anything. But if I'm going to do a scroll here, basically what you're going to do, let's turn it this way, let's turn it normal, is you're going to go from the flat of the brush down onto the chisel. So what I'm going to do is start on the flat, and all I'm going to do is move the brush here right down onto its chisel like this. And its chisel draws the tail of the scroll. So just a flat, I'm not pushing down very hard. Don't push down very hard. If you push down really hard, then you have to lift the brush off. Think more like calligraphy, going from the flat onto the chisel. So don't push down the brush very hard. And with some of the Hindeloopen scrolls, I will put like a secondary scroll here onto the inside and right around onto the chisel again and drop that secondary scroll in here. Sometimes I will scroll to the back, like on the little version there with for her, which is the lighter colors. I will sometimes come like this, start right onto the chisel like this, and come right around, right onto the flat, and lift off like this, and I'll get a little hook. So I come down like this, and I just lift off up like that a little bit, and you get a little hook. A lot of people like those little hooks. So I can pull the scrolls in any direction. I look for the chisel to come in like this, and where's that chisel going to come right in on that? So that sets up some pretty little some different ways to pull scrolls. So if I'm going to come up here, I can make the scrolls. I can make the scrolls with any color. On this one that's over here, I put in what's called the body of the scroll in with the blue, and then the knob of the scroll, this is called the knob. I put the knob of the scroll in with some oranges and stuff. And oranges remains very traditional colors for them. On this one that's over here, I put the body of the scrolls in with a nice yellow-green, and then a nice violet color in on top. And is that traditional? Not at all. Okay, not at all. But it is a fun little variation of it. So let's just say I'm going to paint some scrolls up here, and let's just do one here. Let's do it kind of green. So I just take, and I'll just drop it in some yellow right into here, kind of greens it up. A little bit of black will also green it up. If I want this more toned, then I just drop a little bit of red into that, and that'll tone that green right on down. If I want this green to be more cool, then I add the red violet to it, okay? So what I'm going to do right in here is, let's just build the body of a scroll right here, okay? So I'm going to come right down like this, and I'm just going to drop this right down in here, right into that area there. And maybe let's do a couple of strokes on here. I'm going to widen this out first. If you need to do a second stroke, do a second stroke. And since we're more casual this time, if you get some streaks in there, leave the streaks. Don't go covering up the streaks. Leave the streaks. Be very casual with this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then we'll move over onto into doing the lighter knobs here. So I'll just go right over this way, and let's just make the knob here. Let's just start right out here like this. I'll show you this version of it too. So in the painting, you're going to see many different ways to make the knobs. Maybe I'll do that one like that. I'll pick up a little bit more violet here. Maybe we'll make a secondary, slightly darker one right on the inside like this, pulling the other way. The main thing here is to get more casual. I want to get very, very casual with everything I do. Now, in the bigger Hindeloopen one, you're going to see me make some shadow strokes, a secondary shadow stroke. And the other one that I do, I don't. I just use them once. So again, we're varying it. Maybe I'll curl the knob here a little bit. Just kind of start out with it with the brush here like at 9 and 3, and just come around like this, and then lift off right onto its chisel right there like that. And again, let's just put a second little shadowy color in there. A little different. I like that. I like that little shadowy color in there. You can sit there if you're painting scrolls. I want you to be very casual with it. And, you can put shadowy scrolls even up here by this green side. It's very pretty. That works out just very casual. Put your color right in there like that on that one. So, you have all different kinds of ways in which you can paint these scrolls. I can take off here, and I can follow off this direction here and drop another scroll off here like this. We can reach over, and see, I don't even clean my brush. I can reach over and grab another little bit off there like that. I like to paint very casual with them coming around, and loosen them up. Not quite as perfect as we'd find with the more traditional Hindeloopen. When you come over to a rose, and you're going to do some rose shapes, your red violet's going to be your cool color. If you're going to do, and I'll suggest the colors to you from oranges and reds and whites. Whites are beautiful colors of gray. So any kind of red and green or something. Let's do some variation of white here. Any of my reds and greens and stuff together here, and even a little bit of your black and red violet here, gives me a nice gray color here. And I can use this gray right down in here like this to start the rose. And the rose is a circle. The rose is a circle. So let's put in the rose, and let's come over here. Let's even kick this over to the yellow side. Just pick up some hunts of yellow, drop it over here. You can see the hunts, all the colors are heavy pigmented, so I don't need to clean my brush, and I still get a yellow color here. So let's put a little yellow flower that's going to come right up over here, and maybe we'll have a more reddish rose or something come down up over onto this side down here. Okay, just very casual. See, I just circle around very casual, just giving it some movement or something like that. So then what I'm going to do is take my red violet, which is some of my cool colors. Sometimes I use red violet, sometimes a little bit of red and black to it. You know, I vary the color. I model color. You can have a little red in there if you want, but I model it. I don't mix it. I model it. Tap your brush up and down and model it here. And then we'll come around like this. We'll add a little bit of shadowing into this. Here, let's drop a little bit more into this side here. Drop a little shadow, very casual, little shadow for the bottom of the bowl. If this is a smaller flower out here, maybe a little bit of shadow on that side and a little shadow where the center of the flower will be right in there. I will deepen that. We will make that a little bit deeper, a little bit darker here. Let me set this off to the side so I don't hit that. And let's come in just a bit closer here. Here we go. So I'm going to deepen and darken this here. And I paint fast. I paint just this fast. It keeps me from being too perfect. So I'm going to add a little more red violet here and to deepen this down. Maybe I want to put a little bit more red violet over here on this side of the flower. Sometimes I'll take my finger like this and just move that through like that just to soften out that shape of the rose a bit. And is that traditional? No, heck no. This is a big change. Now, sometimes I will add yellows here. So maybe I'll put some more shadow like right in here. Maybe on this one here, we'll take a little, wipe the brush, pick up a little bit of my Hansa and drop a little Hansa yellow in like this. So I get this beautiful modeling of color. That's what I want to have on these flowers, is this beautiful modeling of color. And so you'll see that on your step photos first. You'll see this beautiful modeling of this color. That's where we want to go first. Then what I do is I just wipe my brush. Now I'll come back if I'm going to paint this white one. Maybe I'll even put a little yellow right there in that white one. That'll be kind of pretty right there. Now I'll just wipe my brush. This is where I pick up my thicker white color. And I'll drop this in and I'll tap into this and then pick up a corner. Just pick up a corner of the light just like that. And this is what I use to come through and just stroke on like this to draw on the white edge of that rose. And I can build that a little heavier if I want right in the front. Just pick up more paint and stroke that again. Following the movement there, the curving movement of that of the rose. The round part of the rose here. Now on each of the flowers a little different, but basically what you want to do is load up some lighter color and start to build the strokes. Start in the very center, tap in some heavy white, build that color, then just soften your pressure on your brush and just kind of round that up there, and you'll build a more round flower into the center. So on the one with the wren, this one is here, I just keep building and building, as you see, building and building lighter and lighter into the front here, which is a great little technique. Works very well. So I would just keep picking up more and more white, and this is why I like that white very, very thick. I just build up my white like that. You can see that. I can wipe the brush lightly, pick up just a little bit onto the corner, and add a few little strokes here into the inside of that rose. I can tap into some more color. Now I can, if I come out here onto the petals, sometimes you'll see me draw an edge of a petal out like this onto the little rose. So I'll tap it like this and draw an edge. Sometimes I just start with a stroke and just start to pull in. So I'll just tap in some heavier color here. Let's just pick up some more. I like nice thick paint. And I'll just start to just stroke in like this some ideas of the petals for the rose. So each one will look a little different depending on the modeling that you have there. So I just keep constantly, you can see, I constantly picking up more and more and more light color, and I'll keep building that, and I can leave that very streaky. Now on the other one, the one with for her, one of the things that I did, which I really love, is I wipe this brush like this, and you'll see me do it, and then I'll start in the reverse up like this and lift off. And this lifts off my shadow to my shadow side of my rose. So I can lift the white back off at any time. If I get something too heavy, I'll lift that white back off. Or I can come in and reestablish another shadow and streak a little bit of that up. That's a little heavy. If I want to drive the white down, I can. If I want to lift off, I can. But I get this little movement up here like that, which I really love. And so on this one that's right here, you'll see, you'll see right where I lift that off. You can actually physically see the lifting off. So I'll build the flower with several strokes and then lift off some of those edges. I mean, some of the shadows to bring the shadows back. You can take that little corner and you can draw little petals out here like this, and you can just build these petals up there as much as you want. If you stroke them a second or a third time, the petals start to soften up. So you can make them as soft as you want or as heavy as you want. You can take some of this lighter yellow. Let's just make this kind of an orangey kind of color here. Build up an orangey kind of color here onto this one. And see, generally this is how fast I paint these. I paint them very quickly. I model my colors. I don't mix. I model my colors together like this. So I'm tapping them together. And I will, let's draw this first. Let's pick up a little light color and draw the edge of a rose and pull it back like that. And just kind of build the rounding shape of the rose. And I'll build the color up here. Just like that until I get the rose shape that I kind of want. Pick up a little more white there and build that up. Now if I want to bring some shadow back, I just wipe my brush, pinch wipe it with your paper towel here and lift off some of those lights. If you don't have that shadow dark enough underneath there, you can always grab it and just pull up a little bit. But it's a great way to paint some quick little flowers here. And we'll drop on little edges here. So you'll find these flowers, variations of these flowers like this, on the little Hindeloopen one, and they'll be slightly different. And I'll paint them a little different, each flower a little different, but this is generally how I go through painting them very quickly and establishing warms and cools and shadows. But each flower is going to look different. So like here, when you look at this, each flower here, like this one has a heavier stroke there. Each flower is a little different, looks a little different. Here I put a little blue into that one. You'll see some different colors and tint them with different colors. The little daisy-like flowers, what are called in the Hindeloopen, the little blossoms there, I just take some color here, model this together with some lights and stuff, and then I will physically start to build the strokes of the petals like this. And I will make this one a little lighter. So I will stroke them a couple of times, pulling in, and start to build the flowers, build the petals like that. And if I need to, sometimes if I want it really bright, I step off to the side, model a little yellow and light here, and stroke that, and I reload it each time. And that's when you get a really light, bright little petal. And I don't do every single petal like that, so I start to let some of these fade away like this off into the side. So you'll see some really bright ones and then immediately fading away into some reds. You can come back the other way too and stroke out some reds back out, lifting back out colors that way. There's, one of the things that we do with this real casual painting technique is that we paint both directions. We lift out and we put on. So we paint both directions. And maybe you want to have a little bit darker color there, a little more contrast. And even down to when I go to put the little light dots on and stuff, I do it with the corner of the brush, and I'll add some little dots and stuff onto those little flowers this way, and little dots and stuff into the centers of the rose here, which is kind of nice. They do that on a lot of stroke roses and stuff. Will have that. Leaves and stuff are very easy. You use your greens. I like a real base green of black and yellow, and then I'll add a little blue sometimes. And very, very casual shapes here for the leaves. They come out sometimes more oval, sometimes different, sometimes little S's, and I just kind of fill up. Sometimes I will darken that with a little blue and black, or a little more black, and create, just model that together here, and create one or two little shadow strokes onto those leaves as well here. But I paint them in all directions and very quickly and very casually. And you can use the chisel to add little stems Or you can go back and even do some of it with a small round. Now I use also when I do the round work, I use the Fusion #4 round, and I do that for a lot of little detail work. I do it on the birds, on their beaks, and so on and so forth. So it's a fun little style, very casual little style. One or two little strokes on each of the on to make each of the parts of the scroll come through your design. Casually lighten it up with some little buds and leaves and everything like that. It's a fun little style to paint, a quick little style to paint. And just remember, you can put color on and you can lift color off, but it's really nice and easier to paint if you leave that white really, really thick. So you just build it with those lights, and then you can lift it off if you need to, if you get too much of that white on. But if you find when you're lifting off that you're not seeing any difference, that means you didn't have enough shadow down there to begin with. So you might want to try another flower with more shadow on it, okay? I hope you enjoy that. Try those couple of lessons there. Try some scrolls. Have some fun with it. Play around the filbert or the flat. Go from the flat to the chisel, or reverse it from the chisel to the flat, okay? Enjoy, and I'll see you on the other lessons.